on this morning, we have Wealth Mindset number 5. I'm very excited for this one. I love the series. I have a couple: Mad Gains Mindset, Wealth Mindset, and I think these are really important conversations to have just around, to kind of, there's different ways to think about the ecosystem, think about crypto, wealth building, wealth management, how to handle the bear, how to handle the bull, those sort of things. And I really try to encompass a lot of those ideas and a lot of this, the philosophy behind it, but also the actionable stuff that people can look and see, hey, what we're doing. Again, we don't give advice, but see what people in the ecosystem are doing and, how they've been successful in one vertical or another, and how other people may apply that too. So I do love having these conversations, and there's a ton of, always interesting stuff to talk about with these two gentlemen I'll bring in too. But hope you all enjoy it. I think had a lot of people say that they enjoy hearing us have these conversations. I know when I'm looking at podcasts and I'm listening to different people that I'm interested in, and we talked about on the show before, Naval, Richard, of course, a lot of his stuff too. Alex Hermosi is another one that I've learned a lot from. Just the whole health, wealth, wisdom, being able to navigate this world, playing to win the game. There's different ways to play it. There's no one way. There's no, one version fits all sort of thing either. But I think there are objectively better and worse ways to do it, depending on your circumstance, your what you're going for, your goals and stuff too. So we're going to get into a lot, probably go for a little over an hour or so. And then I got another stream back to back on this too. I got to hop on afterwards. But boy, I'm excited to get into it. Without further ado, let's bring these gentlemen in. Back for the 5th time, Max and Broadcast and Jake Sharp. How's it going?
Yo. Hey.
Was that a biceps in the chat? Was that a baby biceps in the chat? Shout out to Jim.
I've been pretty busy. So I've just been doing 1 to 2 workouts a week. It's kind of maintenance mode.
Maintenance mode. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of fasting, meditation, and then I slowed down recently on the fasting part, and I just see the weight's coming back. Although I don't have a lot, like I'm still pretty fit, but I notice when I start eating regularly again, I notice a big difference. So if you ever start fasting, it's kind of a lifestyle thing that you got to keep up with, and I think I'm gonna get back into it. I guess family visiting right now, things are kind of like hard to do, But I think exercise like that is something that just energizes me a lot. And let's start with that, Jake. Like, what do you get out of exercise? Like just synthesize that for a little bit for us.
It's the main thing that you kind of realize early on is if you want to do big things, you need a big amount of energy to do it. And the only way to really get energy is to I used to subscribe to this idea of blood, breath, water. You need to be hydrated enough. You need to manage your oxygen and do breath work. And you need to make sure your body is pumping blood, because that keeps your body energized and healthy. You add nootropics to the mix, and then you have high enough energy levels in order to do big things. Because if you look at life, whenever you see somebody that is extremely lethargic, they're usually very slow in thinking. I don't remember what I heard, but I remember hearing the saying of slow in body and slow in mind. And that made a lot of sense to me. So ever since then, I've just been obsessed with just keeping healthy, because you can only create in the world what you have enough energy for. And energy is pretty much everything. So energy work is kind of like the whole encapsulating thing. Energy is high output, pretty much.
Yeah, that's something that, and is it routine based, or how do you feel like you get the most out of exercise? Is like,
that's pretty much character based, I think. Yeah, after a while, you just do it for so long that it's the small stuff. Like even now, like I have an elastic band next to my desk, and whenever I'm like watching something or like reading, like watching an interview or whatever it might be, I just stand up, I do some elastic band exercises, I jump up and down, do some jumping jacks, just kind of keep the energy high. And it's a very recurring theme amongst popular internet kind of entrepreneurs now. This topic of health and energy is just becoming the limelight, because it's so prevalent of everybody having unhealthy hormones, unhealthy body, unhealthy mind, all of it. And the way I've always kind of looked at it is you have physical diet and physical exercise, but then you also have your mental diet and the information you consume. And you can look at the information you consume similar to how, when you eat like fast food and you feel wrecked afterwards, it's the exact same thing. When you consume fast food information, you have a fast food mind. And you just lose all drive, lose all motivation, you lose all admiration in the world because you won't only get bad news. So mental diet and physical diet have always been a very big one. And whenever I notice myself slipping mentally, the first thing I always go to, because my body is pretty much taken care of now, so the first thing I always go to is what information am I consuming? Is it good or bad? And if it's bad, shut it off. And then usually your life gets back on the right track.
Is that, yeah, and Max, I'll give it to you on this one too. Is there routines or other things you feel like that get you, give you that edge, give you that, like get you further down the path where you're going than others? And I want to tie this into wealth mindset too, because I think it's important that we talked about this, the last four as well, routines. Maybe it's exercise, maybe it's just, your mental diet, your physical diet. But what do you think gives you the edge, when you're going day to day, help you make better investments and otherwise? Just kind of paint us a little picture on that.
Like, kind of like Jake was saying, I do notice that, especially when I started my YouTube channel and started actually posting on Twitter, that it could easily become a distraction. And pulling back from that sometimes is worthwhile. And the way I think about it is I think similar to what Jake just said, but getting caught up in the moment in the news is just rarely where I find the foundational, most useful information, and where I get the few things that I think help separate me from other people is rarely what's the latest cool thing. It's much more like, and for what it's worth, kind of how I think about it is asking myself, what are if I was to separate myself and do the things that other people don't want to do, that would give me the most value, what would those things be? And for me, a lot of those, excuse me, a lot of those have been things like classic books. Who are asking myself, who are the wisest people I can possibly find, and making sure that I'm not giving up listening to those people and their ideas and their principles for some random guy on Twitter that really I think has potentially a lot lower reason to be believable. And it sometimes for me, and I don't know how much of it necessarily is because I do think I'm an introvert and I do process internally, but when I'm reading other people that have shown that their ideas, have resulted in things that I think are valuable and that I want to, listening to them, it's like it almost always resets my mindset and pulls me towards something that's better. And there's this idea, like in a sense, it is a suffering. Like it's not always fun to like read a book and like every day, oh, I gotta remind myself of whatever principles I think are valuable. It's not always fun, but there is meaning in it. And like I just have told myself that I'm someone that I'm willing to suffer if it's worth it, and focusing on what are those things that I can do. And for some reason it's motivating to me to realize that a lot of people aren't doing those things. And then that makes it meaningful, because then with all the excuses and reasons that I can come up for myself why I'm not good enough, why my circumstances are worse than someone else's, I can find these little shortcuts like, oh, this particular book or these ideas, I don't think those people are aware of them. If I can stick to this, at least, in this area, I have an edge, and it's motivating to me. It's meaningful. And that's one of the things too, I've found over time, like intelligence is something that's really fascinated me. And I just continually observe that intelligence is not one of those things. I think average IQ, like there is some amount of intelligence that is definitely needed, but a lot of those principles and a lot of those things that are needed to separate you in very meaningful ways are not in themselves that, like, IQ is not an excuse. You can still do it anyway. And I've just decided that whether or not someone is intelligent or not, focusing on those few things that matter, listening to those people that have done it, the people that resonate with you, that you can understand, can go so far. And Naval Ivan, I don't know, maybe I've read this. Let's see. The only real test of intelligence is if you get what you want out of life. That's there. It feels like almost everything I read in Naval's was like, oh, that makes so much sense to me. People like Naval. I don't know if everyone resonates with the same people that I do, but I resonate with Naval. What those little principles and pithy statements, I think Naval says, man, every time I read them, almost I'm like, yes, that's a good reminder. But I see it partially as, yeah, it's suffering, but I'm willing to suffer for something that's worth it. And I'm jealous to find those things that are, that separate. If I follow them, they'll separate me from the other people.
Yeah, getting the edge and just when you're talking about intelligence, this one's one that comes up to mind, like I said, from Naval. He's got a lot of great ones, and I love the ratioing here in the Twitter. Someone's making a jab about privilege, and that's how you got ahead, and victim mentality came up. Very, very fun to see that kind of play out as well. Of just luck. We talked about this before. Luck surface area, making it unreasonable that if you're sensitive to opportunities, increases your luck surface area, and make it unreasonable that you won't be able to get where you want to go because you've did all the work, you've had all the sensitivities to all the different opportunities and stuff too. But really, at the end of the day, when you try to define intelligence, it's one of the best ways I've seen it put is, hey, you can do all this metrics and all these IQ tests and stuff, but at the end of the day, if you really want something, whether you get it or not, that seems to be the indicator of how far you got and how much you're willing to put effort, you're willing to put forth, and how capable you are as well. So I thought that was wanted to put that up for a minute because that really resonate. A lot of his quotes resonate with me, but that's one of the ones that does the most too. Through this too, just through the bear market, whether it lasts another 6 months, 2 years, we talked about edge and just being able to put in more work than others too. What is key to, first of all, I want to tie this into meme coins a little bit too, because we talked about in the green room. This came up a lot recently. I can certainly make a case that, for them and against them. I prefer a lot of blue chips. Everyone knows, the ecosystem and stuff, delayed gratification, that whole part. But also think that a broader ecosystem, more people coming in, keeping people in the bear market, especially. Again, we don't know how long it's going to last. We hope the cycle turns back the other way soon, or when it's ready to. But what is I guess I want to frame this in a way that's the most helpful to kind of paint this picture. Because I was thinking about it this morning. I was taking a run, and I was like, how can I express this almost, I guess, be carefulness? I don't know how to say it. Like the risk, how to express the risk tolerance and how everyone needs to choose that when they decide to play different kinds of games. Maybe that's one way to go with it. So meme coins versus otherwise short-term games, I would like to say, versus long-term games. And everyone's dream is say, I'm only going to play in this puddle for a little bit, and then I'm gonna dump it and I'm gonna put it into the real good stuff. But why does that? Is that a strategy? And is that something people can do? And what kind of appetite do you need to be successful in that? Whoever wants to take it.
Go first.
So what kind of appetite do you need to be successful amongst meme coins or with meme coins, or both?
And not getting burned playing those. Yeah. Again, I've kind of framed it as a short-term game instead of a long-term game, because I don't see a lot of them. I can bring up this. Go ahead, riff on it. I'll bring up a couple anecdotes as well. But
I think that there's opportunity all over the place in crypto. There's so many ways to play the game. I think where my mind goes is what is important is that the person takes responsibility before they play. If they're playing a meme coin, it might be beneficial to ask themselves basic questions like, why are they doing it? How much of their portfolio are they willing to risk? Do they have a reason to think that there's a edge that they have? Is there a reason to think that this is going to go up to a certain amount? How do they know when that amount is reached? Do they have any kind of basic metrics to have some kind of probability? And meme coins are a very real part of cryptocurrency. In my mind, like the audience of those in crypto, like almost such a great majority of us here are here to make money, and people see meme coins as a way to do that. And while meme coins to me are a little bit, in some ways they are a shorter term game, it doesn't mean that someone couldn't have a basic strategy that they've developed, back tested, or they've seen these patterns and they have some kind of risk reward with general meme coins. That's totally possible. But I would suggest that someone try to do that. Try to ask yourself, do you have a approach to this? Have you accepted the risk? Or are you just caught up in this one guy saying this is going to go to the moon, and you just like that idea, and you're not thinking for yourself? You don't know when you're going to pull out. You're just along for the ride. If it doesn't do what you're hearing, are you going to be very upset? That's probably something to be very careful of. You control yourself. You control your approach. You do not control what the market does. And if you're acting in a way that if the market doesn't do what you think, that you're very upset, which I think can happen a lot with meme coins, I would just be cautious. That's not, in my experience, the best way to live your life. Focus on yourself and what you can do. You can take responsibility. You can accept the risk, and you can be happy, even if it doesn't turn out how you think. You just knew when you were approaching this that it was worth this to you, and it was worth it to you regardless of what happened. That was an opportunity you saw. Not all opportunities work out. There's almost never 100% chance of anything. None of us know perfectly the future. But if the probability and whatever the reasons are for getting in are worth it to you regardless of what happens, and that's how you want to live your life, because you can get caught up in things. You can practice bad behavior. Even if you get in on a meme coin and it was luck that made you win, like it worked out, you even took profit, you realized your gains, but it may have been luck more than who you are as a person, and your approach may have not actually been that good. If you continue that behavior, you're going to lose it sooner or later. And I would just be really careful. And I'm saying this because this is what I have to remind myself of too. How I'm approaching one circumstance is how I want to approach a lot of circumstances, and just even getting basically lucky in one can encourage bad behavior. And I may win once. And if I continue that practice, I'm very likely to lose it all. And it's a very common, or more than I'm willing to. I notice it's a common occurrence.
Yeah, I just wanted to paint I'll throw it to Jake here in just a second. I just want to put this anecdote too. I try to have this conversation and not hate on meme coins, and be as objective as possible. And I know I am showing a chart. I measured all-time low, what these things are down. You can read the names if you want, or just look at the numbers. Most, it's harder. It just seems harder to win. It seems harder to win. However, I will say that again, if it brings people in, PulseChain brings people in the PulseChain ecosystem. That's one thing that I give it credit for. At the same time, I think the bear market just creates this sense of, I don't want to say desperation, but the sense of needing to get a win. Like, how can I get that win? How can I get that how can I take that shortcut to get that win? And maybe everyone does love the other coins. Maybe they do love the blue chips, but it's like, it's the act of putting your capital. Like when I see people just going nuts over different coins, whatever it is, the week that, may or may not be around the next few weeks or so, or may be very successful. I could give examples, but when I see that happening, instead of, for example, cheap T-shares or, accumulating these other things that seem like, if you do your own analysis and things like that, and look at the community behind it, seems like they have a better chance if you look at, the different metrics and stuff. So that's what the tragedy part to me is, just people perhaps not like looking for these shortcuts, and then also not taking advantage of the other opportunities, which are lower risk and are more, I don't know. Again, I don't want to paint the picture of doing anyone's analysis for them or telling them what's low risk and not low risk. But when I see, loser coin and light Doge and Bambi, I'm like, I get it. They're fun, but just there's so many more wholesome ways to do investing in my mind. But anyways, Jake Sharp.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think there's nothing wrong with meme coins as long as people just do it at the right points in the cycle. Like, it just requires different strategies. And I remember Richard Hart talking about this a while back. I think like 2 years ago or whatever, and it just stuck with me. Is a chart, no matter what it is, when you look at crypto, an ERC20 is just basically a globally available asset to any person in the world as long as they have money on the chain. So then when you look at charts are pretty much just a mathematical representation of who knows about it now and who will know about it. If you look at charts like that, instead of looking at price action, meme coins kind of make sense. If you know about it before everybody else, and you're at the beginning of the chart, then it's fine. But like buying into parabolic bumps and expecting it to be this huge, massive thing in crypto, I'm not a fan of that at all. But asymmetric information in general, when you're early on the chart, it usually ends up doing well as long as the team does a rug pull. Yeah,
I agree in the asymmetric, but the trading is that the piece. So 99% of people, right? Let's say 1%, 5%, whatever, may have an edge in some way, get in early, have more information, whatever. But the vast majority, right? They see other people and they get into it. They see the tweets going halfway through, and maybe they buy it on the way up, and they think it's going to the moon or otherwise. So I think the tragedy part, the part that I would like to see less people doing, or like being affected by it, at least. My hope is that if you're going to participate, you flip that. Okay, I know I have this edge, like, and you have the edge because you see, like, you have the data, like it's in front of you. It's not just I have a feeling this is going to go up. It is I have this edge, whatever, like, legit way it is. And if you don't have that, avoiding the participation. I think is that the key to avoiding, like, getting wrecked on these things? Because I know a lot of people make money, but a lot of people get wrecked too.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, basically the rule is, the moment a big influencer talks about it, you're too late. And the people who have been around in the last bull cycle is when a big YouTuber of like 50,000 plus subscribers talks about it, is when you need to sell, not when you need to buy. So you need to figure out who is going to talk about it, because then you have asymmetric information, get in before they talk about it, and then get out pretty much. I do short-term plays. But if you're getting in when other people are talking about it, in general, you're too late, and you're probably just going to be exit liquidity in like 98% of the cases. So it's kind of like, I made a lot of money meme coin trading in the last bull market, but I don't know. I think it's mostly for people with smaller amounts of capital, like $200, $500. Like they're not going to make money just investing in Ethereum, and they're probably better off just providing value in the real world and making money that way, and then deploying it into better assets. But some people just like to play that game. It's hard to train people to do it correctly. That's the main thing. They just always lose money pretty much. It's like everybody's ticket into learning crypto is getting wrecked on a meme coin or getting rug pulled. Like, we've all been rug pulled at least once. I think I've been rug pulled twice in the last bull market. I think I lost like $12,000 or something like that. It's kind of like a rite of passage.
So I want to pull in that thread too. So the rite of passage part, seeing it, learning from it. But then if you keep, I guess maybe one way to ask too is like, what makes you stop repeating it? Like, what is it? Finding the product? Is it having more capital? Is it DCAing in the right way? Like, what makes you not be able to be susceptible to, hey, here's another game. This other game, it's done now. Let me play this new game. Let me flush everything into that. Like, how do you see the cycle? I guess, how do you be aware? How do you make yourself aware that it's happening enough to pivot and not get stuck in it?
That's a good question. I mean, I think that all comes down to education. That's a hard one. And that's why I kind of resonate with what Richard said when he first started Hex. He was like, we just implemented all the scam tactics when it comes to marketing, because scams get the biggest adoption. So what if you use all of those adoption mechanisms and marketing styles to get the most amount of people in, because you see it gets the most adoption, and then do it in a good product? That's pretty much the only way to get people out of it. It's just hook them in the mindset that they're in, and then bring them into your world. It's hard to like tell people for instance, when they're making money on a meme coin, to be like, hey, what you doing? But I'm making money. And it's valid. It's a valid argument, you know. So
Yeah, and they're like,
it's
stay
very
broke, bro. Stay broke. Like that's what they're gonna say to you. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's just education. I think the way Richard Hart did it was pretty much the only high impact way of doing it. It's hard. Yeah, just at some point you just come to accept it pretty much.
Yeah, I think trying it and failing and seeing the other side of chasing chasing too many projects that you don't even understand and washing out how you just screwed your whole portfolio over because of it is a way to learn. And at the same time, I think it's interesting because I do think the majority of people in crypto follow green candles, meme coins, and leverage. Like that's what attracts so many people. It doesn't mean that those people are the ones that win, but it is interesting to observe. And while on one hand, I'm like chasing green candles, chasing meme coins, and leverage are things that I tend to, if anything, almost want to counter trade. At the same time, where are people going to go? They're probably going to go to where the meme coins are, where the green candles are, and where the leverage is a way for me to like understand the market and make educated, maybe more educated plays myself, because that just understanding who's here and why are they here, who's the customer, helps me know why I might put money in one place or another. And I can put money in something, for example, like indirectly. So the meme coins are over here. Is there a way I can invest? Or the leverage is over here. The ability to play leverage is over here. Is there a way I can invest in the decentralized leverage platform that's benefiting whether or not any particular meme coin does well or not? Is the platform underneath it generating some kind of revenue? Maybe I can, from that observation of what people desire, I can still benefit with a lot lower risk, just understanding who's playing this game and why. And that indirectly makes me play meme coins, but it's a totally different shift in how to approach it. And I think sometimes it's easy to shun the meme coins, the green candles, and all these things, but at the same time, like part of me making educated higher probability plays, I need to take into account who's the market, and there's potential opportunities out there. Like, don't just discredit this stuff and necessarily put it out of your mind. There's potential ways to take those into account in a different way, not necessarily play the meme coin, but where are people going and why could be related to those things. And it's just another way to look at it that I personally find interesting, and I do try to take into account.
I just don't, when I look at the ecosystem out there that isn't building on my favorite coins, then it just seems like when I'm looking at the meme coin or otherwise, I just think, how long is this thing going to be around? And I start asking all these questions, like even if it goes to the moon or it does this or that, and then every question I ask always adds up to, if I do this, I'm going to be trading. I'm going to be making a trade. I'm not saying trading as a bad thing. You shouldn't do all this stuff. I'm just thinking, I am not a good trader. I don't want to be a good trader. I'm not interested in trading and spending my time doing that. Lots of people do. Totally okay. So what is my edge when I'm doing this? Maybe that's what it is. I don't feel like I have an edge, and and the other part, okay, I don't want to turn this into a moral discussion either, but I think there's something to be said for short-term games in general, regardless of meme coins, could be anything. But just when you're playing the short-term games, when I feel myself playing a short-term game, it seems as if I'm just literally trying to get someone to buy something that I bought, at a cheaper price, like buy my bags, right? I'm trying to get them to buy my bags. And it just feels so zero sum too. It doesn't feel like I'm helping anyone build wealth. It doesn't feel like I'm contributing and making the pie bigger. It just feels like I'm trying to get out before it all goes down. So one, I don't see myself having an edge. Two, I don't don't feel good about it. Like, and again, I'm trying to like separate philosophy from morals and all this stuff. Like, I just don't myself. I don't feel like I'm participating in broadening the pie for everyone, which is what I like about, you know, in the RH ecosystem and stuff. A lot of these are pie grows bigger, community comes in more. Yeah, of course there's trading, of course there's buy low, sell high type of thing, but there's this sense of, you know, especially people locked up over time, the sense of people are going to play these long-term games where we grow the pie together instead of the short-term games where it's just kind of, you know, you're not really collaborating that much with other people. There's not a big sense of community. Everyone's just trying to like get the dollar while they can, sort of thing. So I guess I don't feel like I have an edge with that, and that's why I tend to sit out with them. Yeah. Stay broke, bro. I can hear the chat.
But I'm making money. It's the main thing I've been starting to focus on recently is, and this idea kind of came to the forefront after PulseX, is this whole idea of buy and burn. And I've always asked myself this question where, now we can all make assumptions, but what very likely happened with the adoption amplifier by Richard is he probably used the Ethereum to probably prop up the hex price, which is a valid kind of business tactic. I've always asked myself this question, like, for example, there's a lot of sacrifices in the PulseChain ecosystem. Some raised $15 million. Are they using that money for actual ecosystem development? Why doesn't that $50 million go back into the project, either by buying up the price or providing liquidity, etc., etc.? The things I'm looking for now, and these are some of the things I'm working on, is how do you make it? How do you build a dynamic kind of ICO where the people actually benefit from the ICO in a very decentralized manner, and meaning that the founder doesn't get paid, but it pushes up the coin, provides liquidity, etc., etc. Like one of the things I've seen pop up was one, buy and burn. That makes a hell of a lot of sense to me. Like that's the god mode tokenomic out of all god mode tokenomics, in my opinion. The buy and burn. The other one is, and just actually, I don't want to share the idea, but you could use funds to decentralize. Like, we actually created a smart contract that does this, is use the funds to provide liquidity on your token and then use the liquidity fees of the token to buy back and burn the token on the market. It's kind of like an infinite money glitch. And now I'm looking for these, because right now crypto, especially in the bear markets, is player versus player. And how do you create systems where player helps player, either through liquidity fees going back into the protocol or funds that get raised get used to buy and burn the protocol up over a set period of time, something like that. I'm trying to look for these, instead of player versus player, just player help player kind of beneficial systems. And the buy is the best I found. And then there's some other coins that I've been working with, providing liquidity with certain funds and then using the liquidity fees to buy back and burn their token on the market. I like those games a lot, because then as people do player versus player, it actually grows the price, because the liquidity pool goes bigger, the price goes up, it gets more adoption, etc., etc. And at the end of the day, the only thing, if you kind of bring crypto back to first principles, it's you have a brand, a name, and a logo. That's one. You can put in one bucket, which is brand. Second bucket is liquidity and price. And then third bucket is community. So you have the brand, the community, and the price/liquidity. If you can build it where people can come in and out, but they leave more in than what they took out, it's a positive feedback loop for everybody involved. And I'm trying to find more of those games now, and I think this bear market has created a lot of builders that are thinking in this way. And I think it also came to fruition after the PulseX buy and burn, because I was like, this makes a lot of sense, man. Now, obviously, PulseX had a crap ton of sell pressure with the $1 billion sacrifice that happened. That's $1 billion of coins in people's hands. So obviously, something was prone to happen. But I like those mechanics a lot. So I'm trying to find these positive feedback loops where even if users try to take advantage of the system, it only ends up helping the users that believe. And it's hard to find, but those are the things I'm looking for.
That sounds a little bit like what Hex is trying to do.
Yeah, but the liquidity, that's the main thing. Like liquidity and a buy and burn. Like and I've asked myself this question, like, why did Richard not make the PulseX buy and burn Hex? That would be perfect, because then you have a buy and burn or a price lockup. people have long-term belief. It has buy pressure, liquidity pool grows, because when you buy and burn, when something buys it off of market and then burns it, it adds liquidity to the pool. Because when you buy something out of the pool, like for instance, wrap Ethereum hex, when you buy hex with Ethereum, you add Ethereum to the pool and you take hex out of the pool. So you grow the liquidity pool. Because I've been trying to solve the liquidity pool phenomenon, and I think I have answered. But it's nice. It's when you start thinking about these games, I think that's going to be the next thing for this bull market, instead of player versus player stuff.
Yeah, the groups, is that so? Just on game theory too. Is there a way to talk about game theory with when building wealth in crypto? You know, we kind of covered short term versus long term and the different mechanics between coins and stuff. You know, buy and burn and otherwise. But are there certain ways where, as an individual, you can act, you can make actions that not only benefit yourself, but sort of like it's almost not pay it forward, but like you kind of help everyone else, like the next person coming along, instead of them buying your bag, like you're kind of helping them stay in the community or be attracted to it, or otherwise have this like momentum with you and like sort of creating that kind of thing. Is there tactics that individuals can use for that? Whoever wants to take it.
You can go, Maxim, because I'm talking for a bit.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting topic. That's something I think in my personal life that I've gotten flack for. It's like, oh, you're playing crypto, you just care about money. This is not providing any real world value. Like you're saying it, kind of like you were saying earlier, this is almost an immoral game to be playing from the beginning. It's the feeling that I get. And I think it kind of can be like you can just be caught up in the numbers and how can I make money. But at the same time, like, especially like depending on how you go about it, like if I actually like the projects that I'm investing in and I am trying to buy low, I'm supporting the bottom price for that. I'm helping the project do better in that way by adding liquidity to the market. And then like over time through crypto, we're observing, we're learning like all these ideas. And that's one of the reasons that I like, you know, this blockchain thing is there's a lot of freedom. People are coming at it from so many angles. And I love that. I love the meme coins. I love people coming up with these crazy ideas. And over time, you know, we'll see which ones stick, which ones actually provided value over time. And it's fascinating, even just to me looking at Bitcoin, and it's like highlighted what is money, what is the store of value idea, and how can something that is not backed by physical material you know, revenue generating, you know, these things that we would typically associate with this is a good store of value, how can this thing still have value? And it's highlighting, I think, some truths that about what money is itself that I don't know that we would have seen. And I think there's value in that. And I think the whole system set up like is a truth, potentially a truth telling system. And it's partially that way in the sense, the more decentralized something is and the more you can actually trust something as simple as this transaction happened in this block going from this address to this address. Like that's a clear, you can have confidence that the information is accurate and true and it's associated with time. So like this happened and then this happened. And then we can get surprised. Like, oh, wait, a lot of people, you know, were attracted and transferred basically value to this thing and it stayed there over time. Now we can take that surprise and help develop better explanations. And this whole idea of decentralization is like existed for a while. Like, you know, of course, America is very famous for trying to have a balance of powers. This is something that is such a valuable thing to understand in itself. And it's weird that this is a very much a technology. We're trying to decentralize things through code. We're basically trying to set up through code incentives so that we're trying to counteract things like, or maybe go alongside things like basic power laws where where it's very easy for, over time, certain people to have so much power it's not decentralized anymore. How do we set something up? These are, like, to me, like fundamental, meaningful problems that I think the world will be better off as we understand them. And so I'm here participating in this system, trying to understand it, have my own opinions and explanations for what is a good decentralized system that will last, and paying attention to when there is surprise. Wait, I thought this sounded so good on paper, but apparently when tested by the real world, it doesn't have very much value. And what can I learn from that? And in my process of investing, I'm also like one of those people playing the game that is showing if there is value in one thing or another thing. And to me, that the learning process that I'm kind of participating in, I have the potential to make money off of, is also something that is transparent. The whole world can look at the blockchain and see there's this failed, this had value over time, and this didn't. This completely exploded and this didn't. And hopefully, like, this idea of decentralization and really truth and can be a better understood, and that process itself is meaningful to me. And I think it should be something where each person playing the system is, in a sense, looking out for their own best interest. And I say that because I think Milton Friedman said something like the sign of a good process or a good government, basically a good I guess government system is one where the individuals working in their own best interests benefit everyone else. And it's when you have that kind of a system that's the system that can continue forward. That's where, good behavior, you want to incentivize people to do what is the best for them. That's a beautiful world where anyone doing, like, I want money. Well, the way you're going to make money is maybe provide enough value to other people that they want to pay you more money than it costs you to do that. Like, it's worth the money that they're giving you for whatever value you're giving them. That's, like, in theory, that's a beautiful system. Win-win. It's not zero sum. Both parties win. And we get to the beautiful thing to me is with this technology, we get to speed this process up. So many people are popping out all these ideas, and I think we're learning. There's a lot of potential to learn from what's happening and continue to improve. And I think it should be something where the individual players are doing what they think is their best interest. Time will tell if what someone thought was the best thing for them actually was. But ultimately, I think a good system will be one where that is how people are acting.
There's a lot of parallels with capitalism in this too, where, like, you see companies get started, they get shaken out, they fail. Even with crypto, it's kind of like the meme coins are like, oh, I go to the bank. I don't know. I had this analogy earlier too of, okay, what are you in crypto for? To have fun, be entertained, to gamble a little bit, whatever. You go to the bank, try to get a loan. They're like, oh, what do you want to start the business for? Well, I just want to have some fun. All right, we can't give you any money for that. However, you go to the bank, you're like, I did this coin. I read this white paper. I see this community's here. I see the vision of the project. It's obviously got product market fit. As Jake said, brand, community. What was the other one? Brand, community, liquidity, price of liquidity. Yeah, it's got all these things. Okay, well, maybe we can write you a check for that sort of thing. So, is it just we see everything's going to shake out in the end? Is that just the best system we have? It's like the best system we have is just some people got to lose money to figure out what is the thing that works out. Is that just inherent?
I think failure is an extremely important part and impossible almost to avoid in the process of improvement. And that's one of the cool things about the blockchain is you have a harder time hiding failure in success. It's the truth of the potential ability to see truth in blockchain that I think is really cool. And when people make a failure, everyone can see it. Potentially, we have the ability to see it and not make that same mistake. Have the potential to come up with a new way of doing it and then test it over time and see if it's actually better.
Jake's like, I had a few things to say, but I forgot.
Nah, it's actually pretty good. I mean, over time, I've just simplified a lot of things in my head. So I used to run an ad agency. We managed, at some points, I managed over $1 million a month in ad spend for e-com brands. And I remember, who was it again? I think there's a reason I'm saying this, because I was watching an interview with Raoul Paul like a year and a half ago or so, and he mentioned the idea of social tokens, and the idea where you could invest into the next Travis Scott or the next Taylor Swift or whatever, and if their brand equity goes up, you would own a piece of that brand. That idea kind of stuck with me, because then if you kind of bring it back to the marketing world, an e-commerce brand at its simplest core is just the brand that can spend the most to acquire a customer, can scale the hardest, and can spend the most money. And the more money they spend, the more value their brand holds in the marketplace, because they have more revenue, more customers, etc. At the end of the day, it all comes down to who can most profitably, scalably spend to acquire new customers is usually the most valuable brand. And if you kind of bring that brand back to first principles, it's in crypto, whenever you're investing in a coin, you're kind of investing it into the network. So then when you look at the chart, it's just how many people is it reaching? And I've always, and this is why I've always been such a fan of like public founders and people who put their face out there, because it's a lot easier to market a face than it is a faceless brand or anonymous mom's basement developer. Because they have more brand staying power. And that's what attracted me to Richard, because he's out there, you know? Well, not anymore, but he used to be.
He was out there. He's still somewhere.
Somewhere. Yeah, exactly. They think he's in Finland. Who knows?
That's what I keep hearing. I keep hearing that. Somebody said the other day too. Was it Blue Bomb?
Yeah, because it was in the core documents. And I think the reason, because they're kind of shooting in the dark, I think the reason why they went after Finland is because Richard, this is kind of off topic, Richard mentioned in one of his live streams that Scandinavian countries are the highest in terms of happiness and safety. And then you only have a couple of these Scandinavian countries. So they targeted Finland kind of. I'm not sure if it's there, but he's definitely in a Scandinavian country, because he talks about the social kind of metrics a lot. He never says he lives there. And he mentioned he likes blonde girls a lot. So where you have a lot of blonde girls and very good social metrics, Scandinavian countries. So
I'm gonna have to check on the how many Finnish castles there are, but I'm sure there's a few. He may have one of those.
Right. Yeah. So these decentralized systems, I think we're going into a world, and this is kind of coming back to what Maxim said about decentralization, is I think these social currencies are going to be a thing where you're going to be able to invest in brands and get brand equity. Like, for instance, a new upcoming artist, and you think he's going to be big, you could probably buy his token and therefore have a piece of the brand equity. And this is what Raoul Paul talked about with the social currencies. Is, let's say there's an artist called Purple Pineapple. His name is Purple Pineapple, and he issues a token, and he wants to become a big artist. And what this token gets royalty revenues from his song selling. And then everybody who buys the token can essentially talk about Purple Pineapple, and they can grow the brand together because they have a piece of the brand equity. And this is how you create these decentralized communities where people are individually incentivized to grow the bigger whole because they own a portion of the equity. So when they make the brand bigger, they also make their brand bigger, their bag bigger. So it incentivizes all the users to grow. And I think this is how you get these decentralized communities to grow so fast, because everybody is individually incentivized to grow it. And I think this is where we're kind of going with this decentralized world. Because if you think about it, because one person that's very popular on social media now for some reason is Taylor Swift again. She's kind of having a resurgence. But Taylor Swift, for example, her brand is probably worth more than some S&P 500 companies, because she has so much reach, so many eyes on her. And I think we're going into an age of like social currencies and these decentralized networks where everybody has monetary incentives to grow it and scale it, and everything kind of becomes decentralized. Raoul Paul talked about it. It's hard to kind of word it out, but I think that's where we're going with crypto, because it's not illegal to start your own token. It's illegal to do illegal fundraisers, fraud, etc., etc. That's obviously illegal, but your token is not illegal. So yeah, not sure where I was going at that. I just wanted to share that.
No, I think sports
I
and
like
influencers are the two. It just makes sense to invest in something early, invest in stocks and everything else. Why not people or teams or otherwise too? It just I don't think we had the technology to scale it before, but yeah, now with crypto being ubiquitous and only growing more each year, and hopefully getting us to that bull cycle that we all would like to see one day. Boy, is that the we've had dexes, we've had meme season, we've had stuff like that. I wonder if the next one is like friend tech or otherwise that I haven't paid a lot of attention to, but I've definitely heard on Twitter.
Yeah, example. Yeah, that thing exploded for what it was, man. That was a piece of effing crap UI. Such a garbage app. I'm trying not to swear, but it got so much goddamn adoption. So I think there's something there in the whole social currency kind of thing.
It's been tried so many times. I've seen, even 2017, it was, when everyone made a blockchain for everything, for every token. There was, I can't remember the names, but I know there's a few. I mean, the one that everyone remembers, Steemit. There was Steemit, of course, but there was other ones that tried to catch on as well. It just never went anywhere. And I just don't, maybe it was just, they're just too early. I guess we'll find out with this next cycle, because it's got to be, this cycle, I don't know. I feel like, if it can't be started as a grassroots thing, then maybe a corporatization at some point, or maybe Elon's like, hey, you know what, X.com, we got X coin now, and you pay for your blue check mark with that or something. I never know. But I want to pivot onto.
I mean, I think the main thing.
Okay.
The main thing with the social currencies, I think, is just the regulatory and SEC, because everybody can start a business, like legally. If everybody can start their token legally, I think that's the biggest barrier. If that happens, then yeah, hell yeah, social currencies are the thing. Imagine if you're like the biggest Taylor Swift fan in the world, and you're like, wait, I can make money for promoting Taylor Swift. Where do I sign? It kind of makes sense.
The constant buy pressure on Taylor coin.
Yeah.
Hey, nothing wrong with Taylor Swift. Yeah, nothing wrong with Taylor Swift. At least in my mind. I'm sure there's someone out there I'm sure there's plenty of people that don't like her for one reason or another. But yeah, great music. I like listening to it. I want to ask a couple other things before we wrap up, because I think just hitting this. For one, let's go with this one real quick. 2025, let's say, pure speculation, no idea, not financial advice in any way, shape, or form. Bull market comes back. We're in full swing. People are going nuts. Businesses are investing in everything. Everyone's making money. Nobody's sad anymore. What are some of the things that for you two individually, like, what do you think you would have done when you look around and see both of you are in very good positions at that time, 2025, everything's going great, finances are great, all your bags went up. What can you look back and say, you're in that moment and you say, man, I'm glad I avoided those things. I'm glad I didn't do that. I'm glad I stuck with this plan. Like, what are some things? We'll start with Maxim.
That's a good question. I like looking back from the future. It's interesting. Like I've been there, right? I've had a good bull run and been able to look back, and it's interesting because on one side, it's easy to look at whatever good things I did and wish that I did more of them. And a lot of times that was, there was a good token that I invested in. And it's like with Hex, for example, I was like, why did I not put more into this? Like, I really didn't put that much dollar value into Hex at the time, especially compared to other things I was doing. And it worked really well. And another observation is, for what it's worth, when I bought Hex, I bought from the very first day, basically, to the end of January. And I went back and looked at my buys, like, when exactly did I buy? And, I don't actually know if I calculated exactly how much I put in. But I wanted to see what it was like. And I missed. There was like roughly a 2-week window where Hex bottomed, and I was DCAing the whole time. And guess what? I did not DCA in that time. And at the same time, here we are in another bear market. And I do have more failures and more thoughts, and I think better explanations, like failures behind me, things that I've done wrong. And so I'm looking at where we are this time, trying to, how can I play this better than I've done in the past, knowing that some of the projects I've picked in the past have done well, and I still didn't, perfectly time them. And I lost, I think I fell a little bit for apathy. Like it had started going down, and pretty soon I just didn't care anymore, even though it's funny to think that it was really just a 2-month window. And, this bear market is way longer than 2 months. And I know at the time my mindset was that this going down is to my benefit. And my dollar is going further. And it's still funny to look back. And I in my head thought I bought the bottom, because that's what it felt like at the time. But then I went back, it's like, wow, there was some really good DCAs that didn't even go in. And so this time, kind of where I'm at, for what it's worth, is I want to basically be really humble to pretend to know where the bottom is. And what that looks like is um so some things that, for what it's worth, that I'm looking at are timing, like bear market cycles in general. I'm starting to have a little bit more respect for. I've been honestly a little bit surprised how similar this particular cycle has been to the past. One difference this time for me that I don't, it's one of those things that the probabilities, I think I was playing well, but the reality didn't work as well as I thought. It's not uncommon for when Bitcoin bottoms. Bitcoin tends to kind of bottom twice. It bottoms kind of at the beginning of the bear market cycle, and then it has another dump towards the end. And a lot of times, not that first bottom in Bitcoin isn't a bad time to DCA into some alts. And so that's what I did. The truth is, this cycle, a lot of the alts that I DCA'd in are way down right now. And the good thing is, I didn't pretend to know at that time that that would be the bottom, and I was saving for later, just in case Bitcoin did drop again and those alts dropped more. And I'm so thankful for, I guess you could call it delayed gratification, the ability to save, but also the humility to just be like, let's save some for future opportunity. And right now it's so interesting to see. At the same time, it shouldn't necessarily be surprising, but some alts are way below that time. Bitcoin really hasn't dropped that much. If you like, it started working back up, it's dropped a little bit. It could drop a lot more and still be very much within the standard Bitcoin process. And there could be good DCA times. And so I'm basically just slowing down my DCAs. And my intent, for what it's worth, is to have a bag on the side, basically not deploy my full ability. I will always have money on the side to invest well into the halving. And that way, at least, like those DCAs close to the bottom are just so incredibly valuable. I want to be able to just slowly buy in, and I'm basically just watching for red days and just putting little bits in, continually trying to understand, what am I investing in? Is this still the best project? It's such a beautiful time to be paying attention, in my opinion, right now, for two reasons. One, historically, for example, there's roughly 7.5 months left till the halvening. Historically, until about roughly 2 months before the halvening, from now until then, is a really good time to DCA in. It doesn't mean the future is going to be the same, but just historically, that's been a really good time. And so that's on my mind. And there was one other thing that I was going to say, and I might have forgot what it was, but yeah, DCAing into red days from now until then is, and then another benefit of investing at the potential end of the bear market is you have the awareness of all the projects that are out there now. Because when I DCA'd basically last November and December, there's new projects out now that weren't out then. And so it's another advantage to be paying attention now, is you have the majority of the options to choose from. That, you know, there's more out there, and you can have a theoretical, better educated understanding of there's not a lot of time left for good projects to launch and get into. And so you're paying attention now. You have everything, a much higher percentage of projects on the table to choose from. And so it's just another reason, but it's cool to do it. Also, this is when especially altcoins get hit hard. Bitcoin dominance tends, even if the price isn't going up for Bitcoin, it still tends to of the total money in crypto, it starts flowing into Bitcoin. And it can feel like, well, I'm going to jump on that train, go into Bitcoin. But historically, that's not actually been the best thing to do. And I'm not saying I know the future. It is what's on my mind. And so I'm just slowly paying attention to what I think are good projects. And the apathy that I felt and didn't invest into Hex at the very best time is a reason that I'm seeing the apathy in the market. I don't know that we've reached peak apathy, but it's also a reason. It's like that's a sign it's probably not a bad time to put small amounts in if you're going to play this game.
Yeah. Jake, 2025, you look over your shoulder and you see all the dead bodies, and everything's going great for you, though. What are you glad that you avoided?
Avoided. I mean, it is kind of interesting. Like at this point, in theory, you should avoid meme coins, because meme coins are a bull market play, not a bear market play. One other thing, and this is kind of what was a big lesson in the last bull market, is just avoid VC garbage. This is such a big one, man. Like, just don't invest in stuff that VC invest into. Because I remember, like, was talking about games for a living, and when you look at the holders, this is a random token. We didn't invest in it at all. But over 60% of the supply is vested for venture capitalists to pretty much dump on their community over the entire bull run. So it's kind of like, man, after Zen launched, I started paying a lot more attention to stuff that is fairly launched. And there's multiple ways you can do fair launches. It's not only no pre-sale, no sacrifice. It could just be a launches on market, like Pepe. Pepe was a fair launch. Like, it's just a token on market, and the founders bought on market together with everybody else. I think they had a token allocation. So I'm trying to find projects that the founders can have a token allocation. That's fine, as long as it's not like fucking 10% plus. Like under 10% is usually good, like 5% or whatever. That's kind of cool. But like venture capitalists in general, avoid because they just dump on everybody as soon as they get that ROI. And they dump large percentages of supply. And since the liquidity pool is so small, it practically sends it to zero. So that's not good. Other than that, like the bear market is playing out the exact same way. Like November, sideways year ends. So we put in the bottom November of last year. Then you go sideways for a year. And that is until November. And then after November, you kind of just start going linearly sort of up until the Bitcoin halving. And then maybe you get one spook, and then the bull run is just off to the races. In theory, we're already in the bull run. The bear market bottom was November last year. So yeah, I think November now is peak time. In fact, peak time was November last year. And one thing I'm very proud of is I called the Bitcoin bottom on the day 2 months in advance, like on the exact day. I didn't expect it to be the FTX collapse, but just based on the timing analysis, that's exactly what it should have bottomed, and it did. And now we're in the sideways here. Everybody's talking about this is the biggest, longest bear market ever, but no. If you just measure it from the top of the second top, it's the exact same as any other bear market. So people try to play these games, and this is the exact same thing you saw at the top of the last bull market. This time is different, and it wasn't. And now this bear market bottom, FTX collapsed. No, this time is different. Everything like global liquidity is going to zero. FTX collapsed. The whole mentality is wrecked in crypto, and that was the bottom. And Bitcoin is almost a 2x up. So this time is different.
I think the only thing that's different is we have more distractions right now. We have more more games to play. That feels, at least coming from 2017, 2020 timeframe, I'm like, I've never seen so many games to play. I pieced out for a good 18 months or 2 years after the first bull market going into the bear. I was like, yeah, I was still listening to podcasts, everything, but crypto wasn't a big part of my life at all. But now there's so many of these different the distractions or fun games, depending on how you look at it, going on, that it keeps people in, but again, they're higher risk than a normal place would be. And you mentioned the meme coins in the bear market. That usually play in the bull market. Very interesting point. I didn't even kind of put that in the calculus too. So anyways, I'll leave that one.
Yeah, I mean, meme coins are just player versus player now. Is completely different. Like now, when meme coins launch, it's usually one meme coin to the other, to the other, to the other. They don't bump up at the exact same time. It's player versus player, so it's the same. It's kind of like a circle jerk. It's just liquidity circle jerking around in a circle and going from one coin to another. But it's not new people coming in. It's just existing liquidity in the crypto market moving from one coin to another. That's kind of what you're seeing with the bear market meme coins now. So if you go into it with that mindset, you're going to be just fine. But don't expect all the meme coins to go up at the same time. It's usually 1, 2, 3, and then liquidity moves somewhere else, and everybody in the previous thing is wrecked until the official bull market is kind of set off.
I wanted to hit one more thing before. There's one question in the chat I'd like to get to. I'll save it for last. But one more thing as far as mindset goes that I think would be interesting that Maxim mentioned before when we were kind of trying to figure out some, what to talk about in this stream. Taking steps towards value. I want to talk about value for a minute. What makes something or someone valuable? Like lots of people say, hey, I want to help, I want to contribute. They end up confusing doing stuff, just doing a bunch of stuff, like just, whatever that is, versus making impact or having a real utility. How do you tell the difference? And how do you know when you're just doing stuff versus actually providing value to people?
I think it's easy to get caught up in looking like you're valuable rather than actually trying to be valuable. And like trust, like if even outside of crypto, like if I'm going to work for someone or if I'm looking for someone to work for me, trust in that person is a huge value to me. Even I would say in a lot of cases higher than specialized knowledge. And trust is something that someone can pretend, oh, I'm trustworthy. They could try to put a front. But trust is something that is, are they trustworthy? Are they going to tell the truth? Am I going to tell the truth? If something doesn't go well, am I going to notify the people that matter? Hey, this didn't go right. Here's some solutions I can see to fixing the problem. Just want to let you know. Am I willing to tell the truth when it's hard? Like that's a trustworthy person. Who is it really? And it's the same, like, everyone wants to be someone that is perceived as valuable. But if you focus on the perceiving part, I just want to look valuable and not actually how can I provide value? What are the few things I can do that would be the most useful? And sometimes some of the best ways to provide value are listening. Like a lot of my experience in the outside of crypto is project management related. In the I'm working with teams and listening and working with other people, farming them, like when I'm working with contractors, there's always stuff that goes wrong, and asking them, what do you think? Okay, we've got this problem. What do you think is a good way to fix this? Is incredibly valuable. And it's counterintuitive because you'd think that the most valuable superintendent or whatever would be just telling people what to do. But you get so much better ideas. The contractors are the ones that are actually doing the work. If it's their idea and it does work, like it's my responsibility to make sure that whatever they're doing lines up with the goals. But if they're coming up with the idea, it makes sense to me. It's their idea. It's not me bossing them around. Who wants to be bossed around? I get to enable them. They're motivated. But it's actually like I want to know what is actually valuable. And I know that I don't always know. And so I don't know. To me, it is easy for me to focus on trying to be perceived a certain way more than actually trying to be And it's another one of those maybe self-evident things, but I have to continue to remind myself, like, no, I will tell the truth. And even if that makes me look bad, telling the truth, being someone that tells the truth is more important to me. I'll try to provide value, even if in the moment that looks like asking other people questions. And that maybe that makes it look like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't care. I think that's going to get us a better result, and I'm going to do it. And those are the things too that I've just observed personally. Like, there's a lot of times in my life where I've been thrown in the deep end where I did not have the specialized knowledge in my resume for the position that I was in. And usually it worked out really well. And I just think this is probably going a different direction than you're expecting. This is just what comes to mind.
But I have no expectations.
Okay. Yeah, I think the genuine desire to be truthful and to care for the people, care for the business and care for the people I'm working with, it just carried me so far. And over time, like, I did get respect. And it wasn't, you think, sometimes it's easy to think the respect would come from, oh, Maxim knows all the answers. No, it actually comes from listening. Those people are involved. They know that their voice will be heard. They know I actually care. I do not want my contractors to lose money on my side if I can help it. And they know that. And then, it's a synergistic process. And so focusing on actually trying to be, and that's a beautiful thing, because it also builds confidence in who you are. Like, if I know, this is an observation I had, that it's another one of those things I just don't want to forget. If I know my intentions are to be truthful and honest and care for the people involved, whatever I'm in, if it actually fails, I can live with it in a great majority of cases. Like, I do not always control the outcome, but I can control myself. And if it's just like, I have a clean conscience, and I get to walk around into any situation knowing that my past situations, I was truthful and honest and did my best. And I was trying to look out for people. It's just like, if I fail with that, I can walk around confident in who I am. And it just reminds me, wait, those are some foundations that are not complex. Sometimes living them out is kind of hard. But in the,
takes effort.
And like doing that well is something that's like a life pursuit. But at the same time, I think those are values that in the real world I've just observed, and they're stupid simple. Truth and love, that's what everyone says, right? Like, those are the most important, but they actually are. And focus on being them. Try to be that person.
It just made me think of too, what I think reduces anxiety, and also builds trust, but also just helps me navigate things too, is under promising and over delivering. Like, I think that is the biggest simple, like, it's one of those mental models that I keep in my mind, that I try to practice. I do it in streaming, I do it in real life, I do it, friends, family, and everything else too. I try to add other attributes, like being generous, just trying to make sure people have what they need to do the job, going out of my way to help people that I care about, and this whole like positive feedback loop as well. But the ability to it's almost like the thing in sales too, where, if you're able to deliver value, you're always going to have customers. You're going to be able to build a brand and build a business around it. And you're going to beat out a lot of other people who are just trying to make money, because you're actually providing a service that's valuable, or a product, or otherwise it's solving a problem. And you're able to sell it. It almost sells itself. It sells itself in the way that it does what people need it to do. So, depending on a lot of other factors, you can be successful with it. But I think that's helped me a lot navigate the world at large. Is there's nothing wrong with like trying to sell an event, or sell a stream, or build something up. But also, I think there's just something unique and really fun. And then again, like, less anxiety inducing when you're getting ready to do something big. If I'm slightly, at least, under promising, and then when people get into it and see it, whoa, that was actually really good. Like, that element of surprise, and the element of I think that could be part of the show too. That could be part of something that people find interesting, and draw them in even more than trying to like move the goalpost of what you're actually, trying to achieve with the event. So anyways, I'll hit it to Jake. What and you, I want to tie this into you because you mentioned too you've been heads down with devs and stuff recently too. Is there something that do you find value? And on whatever you had in mind, you can go through too. But I just think that exploring that process quickly before we wrap up, just want to spend a few minutes on it before we get to the very last question. But your ability to just see what's valuable in that, and because you're working with devs and otherwise too, like, yeah, how do you recognize that, and how do you keep yourself honest in that way?
Define value, because there's a couple ways to look at value. One is like being locally valuable, and then being globally valuable. I like the way Alex Hermosi says it. Is he said the sentence one time, and it just stuck with me. He said that I'm not here to do what I want to do. I'm here to do what's required. And I like that saying a lot, because there's a big difference between being locally valuable to your friends and stuff like that, but then to be globally valuable, you oftentimes have to do things that are very uncomfortable. And for example, if you want to be valuable, one is you can create incredibly valuable content that breaks people's beliefs, and when those beliefs are broken, their life become better because of it. But then that's one element, creating good content as an example in the influencer sphere. The other kind of thing when it comes to that is you might think it's valuable to do a live stream and then just keep it as a live stream, not really talk about it, not really market it. But then you have to ask yourself the question, is it valuable if nobody watches it? It might be valuable to you, but is it actually valuable to the world? So this whole, I think marketing is value. And I remember in a mastermind I was a part of, they really reframed it very, very hard. And they essentially said that if you have a message worth sharing, or if you have a product that people need, like for example, if you have a product that could cure cancer, it's your duty to shout it as loud as you possibly can so the most people in the world that have cancer can hear it. If you're like, hey, I created this super valuable product, but I feel uncomfortable sharing it or uncomfortable marketing myself, you're not really that valuable, even though you have a very valuable thing to share. So I think, especially in today's world, if you look online, your ability to market is directly correlated to the amount of value you bring into the world. Because even if you have a great message, if nobody hears it, is it actually valuable? It's kind of like one of those things. And then that comes down to a couple things. Like, for instance, to come back on the content example, is I'll give an example. So I'm building something now, and I'll talk about it once it's done. But you have value in your own words, what you think is valuable, or you can just look at the market and decide on what the market believes is valuable, and then build something that attracts people in the way they view value, and then implement it in your thing. So try to speak that language instead of trying to speak Chinese to an English person. Speak English to an English person. If they're looking for this, deliver them this. It's kind of like the whole story with the garlic and the ham. If you want to get your dog to eat garlic, if you give him garlic, he's not going to eat it. But if you take that garlic and you wrap it in a little bit of ham, your dog is going to eat it with all the pleasure in the world because he wants the ham. So I think value is your ability to package stuff in a way that people find it valuable. That comes down to, if you only do video, what if you do video and audio? Some people prefer consuming audio, and it reaches more people because that's how they like consuming a message that is valuable. I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but it's something I've been thinking about a lot myself. Like, you can build something valuable, but the most valuable thing is to build something that is really good and then promote it really, really well. Because you can build something good and then not promote it. And this is what I see. I see a lot of these developers building cool stuff, and then they're like, yeah, but I'm not going to promote it. I'm like, you're a piece of shit. Why build something cool and then not market it? If you're really here to make the world a better place, it's only going to get better if people hear about it. So people like, I don't know. You have to do both. And I think it comes a lot down to character building and this whole like identity work stuff. You have to kind of morph your identity to like to do things that the world finds valuable. Like, for example, Pepe Coin. Pepe Coin went extremely viral. Was it the best, most valuable thing in the world? No. But then if somebody built something really good and they could have made it as big as Pepe, but they didn't, are they really that valuable? Because Pepe just fucking wrecked a bunch of people. You know what they did? And this is allegedly, allegedly, this is what I read on Twitter, is the Pepe team had a bunch of coins. And Pepe was actually a really good thing. But Pepe team had a bunch of coins. So what they did is they went on centralized exchanges, allegedly. This is just what I'm hearing. Is they started a bunch of shorts on centralized exchanges and then dumped the team tokens on market and caused a bunch of FUD. So one, they made money exiting the team coins, and they made money shorting on the FUD they just created. So I don't know. I just wanted to share that. I thought that was a pretty garbage move.
Yeah, that's the balance too. It's like promoting something, making a good product, but I guess you got to start with the foundation of like, do you have a good product, and then how do you get the message out, and then your goal too. I mean, you mentioned like, if you want to share it with the world or make the world a better place, or just get rich. I mean, all those are valid things too. That can kind of direct how you do things, but then it's complicated when more people get involved and they have different ideas. Yeah. It's not an easy thing to do, to make something that's hex.com. Speaking of that, let's wrap up on this. I had to get this. I always like to hear people around the community's impressions and ideas around this. Just a couple minutes on this before we wrap up. But what do you think, SEC versus RH? What will happen? Whoever wants to go first?
You can choose.
Maxim.
I'll go first.
Oh, I mean, Jake.
Yes. Is with the whole SEC versus RH thing, I mean, you could kind of see it coming from a mile away. If you do $1 billion illegal ICO, and yeah, it's well worded and stuff like that, but if you bring it down to first principle, it's just a non-registered offering. Whether or not it's security, I think that's what he's battling. What I think he's going to go for is he's probably going to settle, but he's going to battle for Hex, Pulse, and PulseX not being a security, which I think he has a very strong case for. But then the actual pre-sale stuff, pre-sale sacrifice, whatever you want to call it, that is kind of like the gray zone. I think he saw it coming, to be honest, because he started talking about SEC on live streams, etc., etc. A lot of projects have done illegal ICOs and they just paid a settlement and they kept on running. So I think that's kind of where it's going, which is totally fine. I think people just have to kind of detach themselves from, just because you like Richard Hart doesn't mean you have to hold his stuff through the storm. You could just like Richard Hart, stay in the community. Like, for instance, I exited when the SEC news came out, because I've seen this play out so many times with XRP and stuff like that. And I don't know, if things clear up, you just buy back in. It's not like when you sell, you can never come back in. At some point, you also have to think about risk mitigation. But I think that's the way it's going to go down. He's probably going to settle, because he talks a lot about, like, for instance, the EOS ICO. They raised $4 billion. I think they paid roughly a $30 million fine, and it was fine, and they're still running. I think that's probably what they're going to do. I think the stuff that he's sharing on Twitter is wildly interesting. Like, he's sharing a lot of interesting stuff on, like, the legal angles. So he's probably going to argue for Hex, PulseX not being a security. He's probably going to win that. And then the settlement, I don't see why he wouldn't do it. It's kind of like, it's like an SEC bribe, pretty much. But he saw it coming. Like, there's no way in hell he didn't see it coming. No way in hell.
Definitely made a lot of changes last year. Even the thing that he says, Richard does not read messages. He even tweets it sometimes. And I saw some of the interviews with the one guy with Rags, and he interviewed the SEC lawyer or former or otherwise guy, and he was talking about that
great
too.
Stream. Yep.
Yeah, that was a great stream. If anyone hasn't seen it, I don't know. For me, I wouldn't take it 100%. I would take it within context too. Otherwise, it'll maybe not scare you, but. I think it was just interesting to hear the kind of the legal way of thinking about it and the different case law and otherwise with it. That's a really good stream to get some context on too. Yeah, Maxim, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, the Hex, the Richard Hart ecosystem itself is not alone in having SEC issues. Like, the SEC, for example, has said, I don't even know the exact number, but I think it's over 60 tokens are securities. And it's like, in some sense, to me, it's like it is a little bit different now than in the past when the SEC would come after you, just because they've gone after so many, that I think the competition is also having similar issues. And then it's interesting to watch how the SEC is continually losing their battles. And it was interesting to watch yesterday how within the SEC there's 5 chairmen there's 5 commissioners, I think, within the SEC, and Gary Gensler is the chair, and 2 of those commissioners came out and said they disagreed with what the SEC ruled on. And even within the SEC, they're not aligned, and they don't necessarily like what is happening. And that to me is like, surprising. And it's interesting to watch. Like I don't know what is going to happen at this. Everyone else is saying what I think is somewhat true. What can the SEC actually do besides make things sound bad? These are relatively decentralized projects. There's not a lot they can do on that front, but at the same time, the news does matter. Like it's unlikely that if the SEC comes out, who knows what they're going to do, but whatever it is, if it sounds bad, it may impact the price. Yeah, it is interesting watching someone like Richard Hart go through this process and see his takes on it. And I like what I've seen so far with him highlighting specific issues that I think are valuable to highlight. And there's a lot of ways it could go. Like Richard Hart could champion blockchain with the way that he goes after things with the SEC. It could be very quiet just to settle. I don't know. We're at an interesting time with the Richard Hart ecosystem, just given that we're at a time where the liquidity more or less in the system of crypto is low, and our particular Richard Hart ecosystem is being hit in other ways as well. We have the SEC stuff, and then we also have the Godwill given a bunch of EHEX tokens to a potential dump.
That was like 2 months ago. Nobody remembers that. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Right.
But at the same time, it's always interesting to ask, like, how much worse can it really get? And I still feel like it's not the worst time to make small DCA buys if you're going to play this game. But I mean, it's still probabilities. Like, a lot can happen, and it can be painful. I think a lot of it, to me, is how confident are we that there's going to be liquidity coming into the crypto over the next 2 years? Is it going to be, right now it's a battle within crypto. Money flows one place, and in order to do that, it has to take from another. We're kind of fighting against the system. There's a lot of competition. And when money's just dumping into crypto, it's an easier game to play. A lot of tokens can go up at once without taking from the value of another. And I think, for me, investing in altcoins right now is kind of a bet that the liquidity position, the money within crypto, is going to be higher later. And it's a bet that right now it's low relative to the future, but we'll see.
Yeah, liquidity. I could definitely in a bear market, liquidity is what it is. Regardless of what's happening with the coins. But in a bull market, people, like you said, start dumping money into it. That's gonna be interesting to see. Unstoppable code, unstoppable community. That's what gets me. I don't really waver from that. I'm like, unstoppable code, unstoppable community. I don't know what else. And I feel like the people who wanted to get out, they've gotten out. The people who saw the opportunities, they take advantage of opportunities, and we'll see how the thing plays out. But I think even when I kind of saw it at first, like, oh, really, that's all? And then you watch some of the streams. Oh, wow, there's some nuance here. And then at the end, to me, it's just like, yeah, I'm here for the ride. I'm in crypto. I'm in the RH ecosystem, and I don't know. I don't think he's a loser. I think he tends to win. So one way or another, I think the community is going to be all right. And when the bull market comes back, a lot of those sad tears, they may dry up in one way or another too. So that gives me hope, not hopium, but hope based on data. Guys, excellent conversation as usual. Don't know why I say that. It's kind of a given. It's obvious. Where can I'm literally 15 minutes late for another stream though. However, so let's just wrap this up. Max and Jake, where can people find you and hear more about your interesting commentary on all things in the world, this wide world?
Yeah, go for it.
Maxim Broadcast on YouTube and Twitter.
Yeah, me as just look up Jake Sharp on YouTube and then click Twitter in the description, because my Twitter name is NK Knows. It's the best way.
NK Knows, Maxim Broadcast. You guys, always a pleasure. I love getting different perspectives, and Yeah, this is a great one. I'm excited. I'm gonna catch replay game every time we do these streams. I'm like so focused on like trying, coordinating and hosting and like trying to get good questions and listening to certain points. I need to do replay gang because there's certain ones I didn't listen closely enough to. That I think there's some good ideas in this one that I want to go back and look at. So everyone, if you just got here,
great, man.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Thank you. Yeah. That's the price I pay when I'm a host. I'm like, I have to do replay gang because there's so many things I missed too. But yeah, no, I always appreciate you guys joining. You guys make it a good stream. I'm here. I contribute, but without you two guys, Wealth Mindset would not be the same for sure. So that's all I got for you today. Thank you all for coming. Replay gang and Scivive and 5555. We are out.